Warm greetings. Welcome back. Lovely to connect for day 3 and making this progress also towards the end of the year. I hope that sound is fine and the translation is working. I'll give you half a quote and I would like you to share your thoughts on the other half. This is by Eden Philpotts. He said, "The universe is full of magical things, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper." Actually, that's the full quote, but I want to ask you, what do you think are the wits that need to grow sharper according to yesterday's session? So it's a wonderful, wonderful drama or universe, patiently waiting for our wits to grow sharper. So what do you think we need for this wonder and awe of the physical world, according to your experience and understanding? So I'll leave that as an open question. Be great to hear. The second one is also about maybe the mind. This is classic quote by Einstein. He said, "Everyone is a genius." So it's a nice statement. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. For me, these both connect to yesterday's session about the intellect, that our wits, if we appreciate this amazing, amazing gift, including the body, then it's a magical thing, but we also have to have the intellect to see it, and that broad intellect that includes the feeling of absolute freedom, Paris intellect, refined, higher. The second aspect, everyone is a genius. It was said we all have Paris. But if we think we are the body, if we think we can lose something, we're missing something, we never can really organize our thinking clearly. We might not realize the greatness. So that was my thought on those quotes. And it would be lovely to hear yours. Meanwhile, I'll say hello to Prashant. Yes, we can put them in the chat. Thank you for your messages. So as always, we welcome your thoughts, and if you're in a position to come into camera, do feel free. And good evening to Prashant.
Yeah, thank you. And hello, and welcome back. Let us come back to our experience. It is like a reset. And the easiest method is use Paras. It is like using glasses with which we can see better. And the moment we use Paras, we are able to see the great story as a story. Everything that happened today, it happened in the story. And what is happening now, it is happening in the story. For Paras, it is so obvious. He knows the world beyond the story. And beyond the story is silence. There is no noise of the story. Beyond the story is the real world. We see this in the image of a sky, an expanse. And in this sky is the true family. They are all those invisible travelers. This dimension is timeless. It exists forever. And all exist forever. And all are beyond harm. Story cannot harm anyone. All we have done is use paras. And in 1 second, we are discovering a sublime reality. We are discovering that all are safe, all are good. How absurd to miss this and see everything upside down. The true family, true home. In this environment, we see the true self. A true self becomes conscious. And for the true self, it is so normal to be immortal. He's conscious. He can see himself. It is normal to belong to that sky. Normal to be that invisible presence. Normal to be the invisible observer of the whole thing. This moment. He is able to see the drama of camel and elephant, even whilst acting that drama. He remains the observer, the audience of the drama. Understands his world is completely separate. Drama may end, but his world is timeless. As we continue on our journey, we remember the extraordinary truth of everyone. Thank you. Today will be our discussion based on science, or bringing the science element and or what scientists are speaking on this subject. That will be the aim today. So far we have been talking about invisible traveler and invisible world and family, all invisible, and where does this all fit in within the world of science? But first we will be watching a short video. Just a little background about this video. This is about a psychiatrist by name Ian Stevenson, and you will see an interview with him. Ian Stevenson was based in Virginia, USA. Young Ian Stevenson, in 1957, he came across one child who was remembering another life, and mother wanted to find out what is going on here. He keeps talking about his other mother and other life. So Ian Stevenson studied this child, and based on this information from the child, was able to locate the other family where that person he's talking about, he had died. And he studied that deceased person in that family and found that more than 40 facts that this child was talking about matched with the reality of that man. And this other person was in a different state also. And this child was in another state, not been to that other family. So he published this case in the journal, in medical journal in America. He got lots of interest, and he got more grants to study this. And more grants he got, he published more he published, he got more grants. In time, they have got now Division for Perceptual Studies, a separate department with Ian Stevenson, and that's the way it started, and then they study about this reincarnation, and they study about other cases, and they have got many interesting cases. And they have got thousands of cases now. Ian Stevenson has published books and different books on different subjects. And his methodology is a thorough science methodology. Other scientists totally understand his methodology and respect his method. Rigorous. His books are such detailed, it's like rather boring because of that methodology. But the essence of it, he is able to see a pattern. Based upon all these thousands of cases, you can see what is happening. What is relevant for us is to see that there is a consciousness independent of the body and the cells that transfer from one body to another body. We are talking about the invisible traveler, that exists. That is what we are seeing here. We are going to see this video. In this video, what we are going to see, the injury in one life continues into the next life. In other words, if a person had lost a fingers, in the next life, he is born without the fingers. This kind of pattern. But he has got one book, Birth Defects and Reincarnation. So hundreds of cases of injuries from one life seen in the other, completely different body. So we will see this video now.
Professor Stevenson has studied hundreds of birthmarks and birth defects in children who claim previous lives.
I'm particularly interested in a collection we have about 15 cases where there are two birthmarks corresponding to bullet wounds of entry and exit. And forensic pathologists know that nearly always if you shoot somebody, the bullet wound of entry is small and round, and the bullet wound of exit is large and irregular in shape. And that's the way our birthmarks, in about half of these cases, they correspond exactly that way.
This boy was born without a right ear, but with memories of the life of a man who was shot in the head.
He remembered the previous life of a peasant farmer, this was in Turkey, who went to sleep at the end of the day in a pasture, and a neighbor came along hunting rabbits, and in the twilight mistook this sleeping peasant for a rabbit and shot him with a shotgun at point-blank range. We were able to go to the government hospital where the wounded man had been taken, and there we found a report showing that he died about 10 days later of hemorrhage in the brain. And this boy had memories of this man's life and his death.
The skull of a Turkish miller killed by a blow to the back of the head with a flour shovel. This picture is from the official post-mortem report. Later, a child claimed to remember the miller's life. The boy had a misshapen skull. Violent death occurs frequently in Stevenson's best cases. He speculates that the trauma of such a death may cause it to be remembered. This Burmese man recalled a previous life as a notorious bandit who was captured, and executed for murder.
The hanging was bungled, so that he had to be hanged twice. And the subject, who had the memories of this brigand, was born with a almost absent lower jaw. His mandible was exceedingly small, and his mouth was very narrow and tight, so that he really can only take liquid food, and he can't open his mouth. But birth defects of the kinds that we have in these cases are uncommon, and they're not the sort that you find in the textbooks of birth defects, the monographs, with rare exceptions. A few of them are, but most of them are not.
In a village in northern India in the 1970s, a small boy lost the fingers of his right hand in a fodder chopping machine. Later, the child died, but it...
As we said, many cases and many examples, but we get a flavor of the message. And the message is what we are talking about, the invisible traveler. It is not just a belief, something that have a faith, but there is something more to it. Now let us come back to the whiteboard, and I'm going to see this subject from philosophy and science. And in philosophy and in science, there is an understanding that the world is lot more than what we can observe. As an example, here I am showing just a straight line, but this line represents everything that exists in the universe, everything that possibly can exist. And let us say here is a caterpillar trying to understand this world. But this caterpillar has got just one sense organ, touch. So the world it can ever know is a very small world. This much it can ever know. Because it hasn't got eyes, it hasn't got ears. There are other creatures with more senses than the caterpillar, and it can know more of the world. Human beings have got 5 senses, and with his 5 senses he can know even more of the world than other creatures. But just as this world is not limited to the senses of the caterpillar, it is not limited to the senses of the pigeon, it is not limited to the senses of the human beings. In other words, there is a portion that we have no senses to access this portion. We call it non-physical or invisible. It is invisible to human beings. It may not be invisible to other creatures. So the part that we can see through our senses, that word we call it physical. Now what happens with the system of science? It is an amazing system, but it relies 100% upon our sense perception. You have to experience it through the senses. And then it can be published, it can be mentioned. You can repeat the experiment, observe through the senses. And so science puts itself in this limitation. It is a great system, but it cannot know the complete truth. It is able to study part of the picture. And it is a great system for that physical reality. It is not a system for us to help understand truth. If we want to know the truth, we have to go beyond science. So just simple, in the discussion. This discussion is there in science and in philosophy. Now let us come to this subject of who am I? And here I'm giving an example. Here is a man. He is 80 years of age. And he says he was in school 70 years ago. He says, I was there in school and I am here today. You can take your own example. See you yourself when you were in school. You are here today. Now, medical evidence tells us that every atom in this body is different to every atom in this body. Just we are talking about 70 years. The body is constantly getting replaced. Just to give you one simple example, as we just breathe, one breath cycle takes 6 seconds. To breathe in and breathe out, it is roughly 6 seconds. During these 6 seconds, many molecules from our body are thrown into the air, and many molecules from the room go into your body. Not just in the lungs, they go through the lungs into the blood and into our system, body, organs. So in 6 seconds, will you make a guess how much of the body is replaced? 10 raised to 22. These many atoms in our body are replaced. Means 10 plus 21 zeros on top of it. This scale, we are talking about million. Million is what? 9 zeros or 6 zeros. Billion is 9 zeros. So here to 22 zeros, these many atoms of our body are replaced. And these atoms come from bones and from blood and from kidneys and brain. Body is getting replaced. We are talking about 6 seconds. In one day, how much is replaced? So this is the scale of the change that is happening. A person says, I'm the same person. So where is that person? Obviously, that person is not in the physical part of the world. And if he is not in the physical part, we are talking about the invisible part of the world, and represented by this image, star. When we are talking about the person, who is that person? We are talking about the experiencer. Something within you experienced that school. And right now you are experiencing this moment, Zoom, this gathering, words, someone is experiencing. You may be using, technology, you may be using headphones, but we are experiencing. There is someone who is experiencing. He is using the eyes, he is using the ears, but who is the experiencer? And this tells us that the experiencer was there in the school. The experiencer is here today. All the molecules are different. Atoms and molecules are completely replaced. And so the experiencer himself is invisible. He is from that non-physical portion of the world. And that is what we are talking about. When we are talking about the invisible traveler, we are talking about that experiencer. Now, based on experience, if whoever is experiencing, based on that are our emotions. Based on experience are our habits. Based on experience are our deeper tendencies and our personality based on experience are our thoughts. Based on experience are our memories. So we are talking about the cognitive functions, most important functions. Who is taking the decision? Decisions are based upon your past experience, your emotions, your habits, your personality. So the real you here is the experiencer, and the model that we are getting now, there is a pilot and there is an aeroplane. Sometimes pilot appears to be so small. There is a huge aeroplane there and tiny pilot sitting there in the cockpit. It is something like that. But that pilot has got all the controls with him. He makes all the aeroplane function. He is the master of that. So here there is a pilot. This is a great news. There is a body, and their body is not the whole thing. There is something that is using the body. And one who is using the body is the invisible experiencer. Feel free to, if you got anything to say or ask. The reason we are going into some details here, because it is the invisible part, it doesn't go into the science books, it doesn't go into the university, and because it doesn't go, we tend to believe that as if it doesn't exist, and we get into the huge muddle because of that. We are as if we are forced to operate in that box with our all the attachments and downward spiral. When this is blocked, this invisible side is blocked, the only option we have is the downward spiral.
And it's asking, are you explaining about the soul?
Here at this stage, let us stay with the word traveler, experiencer, the guest. And once we understand this, we can use any words later on. But yes, the invisible traveler. Yeah, any other thoughts or any other comments?
Yeah, no other questions right now.
So here we have seen that there is a pilot and there is the rest of the aeroplane, and the pilot that operates this aeroplane. And it is nice to know that this is what we've been talking. It is not just a nice belief, but there is something, solid, rational ground behind it, and we can invest in this practice with more determination. Also want to add a few other things connected with this. In the last 40 years and more, there is increasing interest in studying this paranormal in the science world, medical world. There are institutions that study this. Just like Ian Stevenson, he did this research. In the same way, there are many other universities, there are departments that they study parapsychology or paranormal. Edinburgh, the University of Edinburgh has got a chair to study, parapsychology. So here we are, those who are doing research in this, they study cases of out-of-body experiences. Some of you might have studied this or know more about this, out-of-body experiences. And they say that almost 5% of the population, sorry, not 5%, 6% of the population have out-of-body experience on this planet. So, which is a big number. We're talking about 50 million people, on this planet. And if you meet them, they know they are not a body. They were able to see the body from beyond. Conscious them was something very different. There are also other cases, they are called near-death experience. And in this case, they literally have died. Or sometimes doctors have given them the certificate of death certificate, and then they come back to life. Sometimes they are just in an emergency, cardiac arrest, and or everyone is rushing around, and he is resuscitated, he comes back, that kind of. So 10, 15 minutes he was unconscious and seriously unconscious. So these are the cases. And then they tell you what they experienced. And what they experienced is they existed outside the body. And their details are pretty accurate. They can tell you exact who was sitting in the corridor, which relation, and they can also tell what was happening in their hearts, what they were feeling, and this kind of information. One brain specialist, his name is Professor Eccles. He got Nobel Prize for medicine in 1970s. So here is a specialist who knows about brain. He knows human beings, body, and he uses the language soul using the brain. This kind of language doesn't go into the medical books, but that is what he says. And he cannot explain the functions that we do just based on the neural network, or the brain cells. But what is happening within us is something more. And he says, soul is using the brain. All this is just to give us an idea what is, why we are using, what we are using, the language of our, and that, and once we realize that, okay, we ourselves are invisible, there is a pilot, then where does this pilot come from? And we are able to, look out, be open to the bigger model. We are going to see another video, and this video is studying, and it was someone who has studied and meditation, and that is what is happening in Harvard Mind Brain Institute, and what they do, the subject, they teach them meditation techniques. They call it relaxation response. It's just a medical term, but it is meditation. And they practice for 4 minutes, the subject, 4 minutes each day for 6 weeks. And they study what is happening in their lives, how it affects their sleep, how it affects their blood pressure, how it affects their different health conditions. Some people preoperative, what is their life and how it changes post-operative. And in all cases, benefits. But we will hear his interview directly, or his talk. He's an associate professor in Harvard.
It's really not important. And that separation of mind from body was being continued. So the technologies over my own career of 40-some years was always developing, and we were using the latest technologies to see whether we could better define this mind-body reaction that we had labeled the relaxation response. Frequent fMRIs came along, and work done by Sarah Lazar, for example, at Massachusetts General Hospital showed that there was a specific quieting of the brain in certain areas of the brain, less activity, less noise, when the relaxation response was being evoked. And then she found that the brain actually became thicker as people got older, when normally it became thinner. As we get older, we forget things and what have you. Well, the brain became thicker in people evoking the relaxation response. Then, the last 10 or so years, we've been attempting to answer the question, does the relaxation response alter your genetic activity? What are we talking? Genes. Genes are the fundamental building blocks of the body. All our enzymes, all our biochemistry are based on genes. For example, and it's changing second by second by second. Not changing the genes, but the genes' activity influence activity in your brain, and that activity in turn influences your body. You are a different person today for having seen me talk these several moments. What you've learned has changed you. And it changes, things are changing simultaneously as things are learned. And sure, you're not going to change the genes themselves, that they determine whether you're a male or female, whether you've got dark hair or light hair, whether you're tall or short. Sure, the environment influences that, but the basic genetic structure you inherited, your genes. What we measured was the genes' activity. What we did, and this was done in collaboration with Dr. Tuvia Lieberman and other people at the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, we took patients who had been evoking the relaxation response for years, on an average of 9 years. The range was from 20 years to about 4 years. They were using different techniques to evoke the relaxation response. Some meditated, different forms of yoga, mindfulness, transcendental meditation, breath meditation, different forms of prayer, yoga, Tai Chi. But they've been doing it regularly for some, on an average of 9 or so years. We matched them with people who are of the same gender, same age, same race, and same education, and looked at the activity, not the genes, the activity of every single one of their genes to see whether there's a difference, measured in all 40 to 50,000 genes. And lo and behold, there was a difference. The difference, and which genes were they? Genes were being turned on and turned off in a fashion that one was acting exactly opposite to those genes that were turned on or turned off by stress. Genes that controlled inflammation in the body were being tuned down. In other words, there would be less inflammation. And the genes looking at the very life of cells, the length of life of cells were consistent with cells living longer. Nice. That was a statistically significant change. Then we took that was what's called a cross-sectional study, looking at match controls amongst different people.
It's just a taste. You will get a video for you to see afterwards properly. But it will be nice to hear any comments or any questions.
Yeah, thank you. There might be more questions coming, and there's one here. You mentioned the experiencer. Does the experiencer experience the body, or does the body experience the world of the experiencer?
Body, just like You are using the computer, you are using the car. Car doesn't experience. The driver experiences. In the same way here, it is always that invisible you. That is the only thing that is experiencing. It is using the body, using the brain, using everything else, but experience happens in that invisible traveler. 100% the experiences. It can be emotions, it can be physical experience, it can be thoughts, all the cognitive functions that is happening at that level.
It's interesting, and maybe a question to build on that. Sometimes they talk about gut feeling. So what's happening there? But we feel it. What is it poetic?
Yeah, these are what happens is something is experienced, and then because I'm experiencing it, my heart might go into some palpitation, and it appears it is all happening in the heart, my feelings. My hands might get cold. So someone might say I'm feeling in the hands, or it gets radiated to different parts of our body. There is a network, a neural network, but the experience, feelings, all cognitive functions are happening at an invisible level.
Yeah, interesting.
And if we take it further, which is the likely control room? Just like the pilot has to sit at a certain place, that is where all the controls are. In the body, where is the control room? If you see just the anatomy of the body, you will see that part of the brain called hypothalamus, which is roughly in the center of the forehead, more at the level of the eyes. That area, hypothalamus, is connected somehow to every part of the brain. So there is lots of going on in the brain, but it has connection to this, the cabinet room. And also our sympathetic and vagus, the parasympathetic, sympathetic, they are also connected to hypothalamus. All our endocrines, they have a connection with the hypothalamus. Endocrines mean all the hormones. So you get an idea that if there is a pilot sitting there, the control room is in the brain and in the center of the forehead, roughly about 1.5 inch behind the forehead, that hypothalamic area, that appears to be the control room. But still we can say that is the point of action. It doesn't mean the traveler has to sit there. All we can say, he may be sitting there, but all we can say is that is the point of action. He operates from there. But he is invisible.
So, on this note of invisible, a question: is there any evidence to show what meditation has on the invisible traveler?
What meditation?
Yeah, the evidence to show what the effect meditation has on the invisible traveler.
All this what we are saying, the feelings and emotions, these changes, that is happening at the invisible traveler. If someone says there is more peace, he experiences peace. That is, and even the genetic changes and the body changes, that is happening because of the relaxation response. There is a deeper relaxation there. and relaxation is happening at an invisible level. These are physical parameters they look for, but subtle parameters cannot be measured directly. So someone says, I'm happy, more happy. The science cannot measure it, but these are the measurements indirectly. If we are looking for physical evidence, these are the indirect evidence.
You get to a certain point, and then we have a mind which is like our laboratory, and the testimony or is our feelings, isn't it? We play with the ideas, invisible traveler, and then what we experience is proof to ourselves, but doesn't necessarily help in the science.
Just want to mention one more thing in this connection. And we are saying that natural state of this invisible traveler, when we've been talking about on the first day, when we spoke about the invisible traveler, we said if he doesn't cross the line, that's all. He comes in this world but doesn't cross that dotted line, doesn't get into attachments, bondage. His natural state is of happiness. His natural state is of peace. He is naturally secure. Only when he catches hold of the broken branch, then all the complications and the other unpleasant emotions come. But natural state is of love and happiness. And when people, so what this tells us is that we all are naturally happy. We don't need cakes to be happy. Our nature, innate nature is happiness. We can artificially block it. This is what happens. When we catch hold of the broken branch, then this artificially we are creating unpleasant emotions within us. And then we think we need more branches to make us happy. We have gone into that reverse gear to think that we have to create more attachments to be happy. But when you let go of all this, you realize our original state is of supreme bliss. And this is what is observed in lots of these out-of-body experience near death. They experience bliss. The moment they are in this state, and bliss regardless of what happens in the physical level. So we are going to see this short video of climber in Alps, and then what happens to him. They will tell the story, but the one who is studying this case, and he's going to tell us. Speak.
Back in 1892, there was an article published in the yearbook of the Swiss Alpine Club. Albert von St. Gallenheim was a geology professor who decades earlier had been hiking in the Alps and fell. And as he fell, he kind of left his body and watched his body repeatedly crashing into the rocks as it was falling. And he wrote in his account of it that he had previously watched people fall, and it was terrifying to watch someone fall. But when he himself was falling, it was a blissful experience. And he said he watched himself getting bloodier and bloodier, and he was totally detached from it. And time seemed to stop for him. The faster he fell, the slower time got for him. And he had time to think about how he needed to twist around as he was falling, so he landed in a snowdrift rather than on the rocks. He had time to think about whether he should take his glasses off so he wouldn't break them. He thought about the class he was supposed to teach next week. He thought about his loved ones who he left behind. All this in a matter of a few seconds while he was falling. And he was so stunned by this experience that he started asking other climbers. And he quickly found 30 other cases and published his collection of 30 cases in the Yearbook of the Swiss Alpine Club in 1892.
Yes. So this is, in essence, what was happening in him. There was an out-of-body experience. As he was falling, he was out of the body. That's why time was in a different dimension. And at this level, he fell, it may be a few seconds even. But for him, it was a different time. And moment you are out of body, then there is a bliss. And so there were no cakes. There was happiness. We will come to, some experience. Will come to the practice, and then we'll create time for any other comments or questions. Is that okay? So here we are reminding ourselves some simple four-step practice. Let me show what we are aiming to achieve during these 4 steps. Something that we discussed yesterday. We spoke of our model. These invisible travelers, they have a home. And this world is timeless and beyond harm. World is like this. It is the home of the family. All belong here. World is eternal. And we also saw that we come in this physical world. We said yesterday it's a story world. The invisible traveler is the invisible guest in this story world. He is the invisible actor. He is the invisible observer of that story. And in the story, we use the image of camel and elephant drama there. There is a script and there is a drama. Lots happening in that story world. But story doesn't harm him at all. He remains the invisible traveler. What he is, he remains the same at the end of the journey. Just like if you go to watch a film, in the film there can be war also, but at the end of the film you remain the same. You are the invisible traveler, you remain the invisible traveler, you come back home. That whole experience is an extra experience. It becomes a gift. When anything is extra, it is a gift. So in this practice, it is a 4 steps practice. Step 0 is our posture. We choose to sit in a comfortable posture, whichever is appropriate for us. We also choose not to do multitasking during this practice. Give a good chance enough for concentration. That is step 0. Step 1, we are just seeing the invisible traveler. It is almost like we are seeing a tourist visiting this physical world. If a tourist was to visit your town, you see him, and he belongs somewhere else. He's just passing through. You have a certain attitude towards him. And he has an exit. He's there for maybe days or weeks, but he's going to go. You know this. So that is step 1. You are just seeing the invisible traveler here. He's a traveler on this planet, traveler in the physical world. That is step 1. Step 2, the invisible traveler is seeing this world. Step 1 is we are seeing the traveler. Step 2, the invisible traveler is seeing this world. And he knows that this is a new experience for him. Whether it is colors or images and human beings, animals, everything is an experience for him. He appreciates everything. And he knows that he has a guaranteed exit. That is very, very clear. He's a guest. He knows he belongs somewhere else. And since the exit is so clear, he has no intention to get stuck here. He has no intention to claim anything here. He knows he doesn't own a single atom of this world because he can't take anything, and he doesn't want to take anything with him. What happens as a result? He has not created any bondages. He becomes completely free from the victim mindset. He remains in that noble mindset. That's why for him every moment appears like a gift. As it comes, he feels it is an amazing gift this moment. Big miracle, and next moment another miracle. Variety, experiences. Different things happen. Things change. Things end. He's happy to come, happy to go. Invisible traveler, he finds fascinating that whole experience, journey. And he loses nothing at the end. He has gratitude for that whole experience of being there. So step 2, invisible traveler seeing the world. Step 3, invisible traveler understands he is also the invisible actor. And that he is involved in a drama. He is a guest in a drama world. It's a story world. Everything that is seeing around is that world of camel, elephant drama, performance, a story. And since he's dealing with a story, he knows there is nothing to complain. There is nothing to worry about. Nothing to be obsessed about. He's dealing with a story. It can only be a fun. The invisible traveler experiences a state which we can call viceless state. Just by understanding that he is dealing with the story, he becomes completely free from vices during that second. During that time, he really sees it as a story. Step 4. The invisible traveler comes beyond the story, returns back to his home. Comes to this expanse of light and silence. A world that is timeless and endless. The invisible traveler understands that he is very, very lucky. He understands immensely beautiful truth. He is safe, and this whole physical experience is a grand gift. He understands immensely beautiful truth of everyone. Thank you. So today we will be, when question gets asked, what will be the homework for today? So definitely these 4 steps will be the important part of the homework, to create time to experience each of these steps. Also pay attention to the step 0, where you are not multitasking at the same time. Our whole game is based on concentration. More the concentration, and we all have concentration, but if you value it, aim to use concentration, then experiences will be guaranteed. Excellent. And shall we have any comments, or if there are any questions?
Yeah, thank you. We put a small version of this in the chat, but also we can put the script similar to what we shared in the G Drive, which we'll share the link. Do you recommend music for meditation?
The most important part for us is inner experience. And this has to happen in all situations of the story. So one time there may be music, another time it may be silence, another time it may be noise. And then the story has got all varieties, and you will enjoy all situations. But no harm in having music. But ours is not a relaxation that some aim just to have relaxation. Their meditation means music and relaxation. That is not our meditation. Our meditation is that shift of consciousness.
Would you say it's a realization based?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the question comes, is it useful to have visualization to experience this invisible dimension?
Visualization is part of it, but very soon it comes in the experience. That is what our aim is, coming in the experience rather than just visualization. We have to cross that dotted line, go on the other side of the dotted line.
Maybe the visualization helps hold focus long enough there to be the concentration and then the awakening.
Yeah.
Question was coming earlier, how do we let go? And you kind of maybe touched this. She's written awareness, meditation. So yeah, the letting go process.
Yeah. As you are coming up the spiral, you are naturally letting go. And you might not take a big decision, I'm letting go, but you get understanding that you are a guest. Guest naturally feels, what am I doing? Believing that this is mine. You are there. It is like a detached involvement. You are very much involved, but at the same time you feel you don't need to own anything. So that feeling comes right from the body. With the body or everything, people, you feel, I don't need to own anything. It is in confusion. We thought all of this, what will happen to me without claiming everything and everyone.
You say it's like twofold. Like one thing is we let go of one and we awaken something else. One helps the other. So, earlier with the topic of science, do you feel that some scientists have a sense of spirituality and intuitively maybe, but they can't express or expose that because it might affect their careers?
That is, yeah, they themselves say this, so many in the academic world, they wait until retirement to speak what they really feel. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunate sort of situation, but it's nice that it can be a scientific approach, but we can also go beyond the measurable into that non-physical. So there aren't any other questions right now.
Happy to go for the rooms.
The question we could create for this, how does science help you to understand deeper spiritual wisdom? How clear am I about the invisible dimension? Does that sound okay for the discussion?
Science help, maybe how to go beyond science. That is we saw the science limitations of science. They can tell us, what they can see within those limits, but we have to go beyond science. We have to create our own experiences.
How can we go beyond the limitations of science?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So that is in the chat, and Heather will be inviting us in. So as usual, enjoy giving others chance, and we'll see you back in just over 10 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back. Always lovely to see all of you after the rooms, and so much beautiful energy. Shall we create just a few moments and come into that sweetness, that silence, that dimension, that invisible world? Thank you. Always find images help. You could even draw in that theatre, even the Zoom call and any scene of the day, as if a reminder to each scene to make it little and give that freedom. So we're lovely to hear reflections from Sanjay, and good evening. Hello.
Good evening, hello. Yes, it's a big jump to leave what we know from the science point of view and just try those models and see how to prove the self that they works. It needs lots of courage because I was so buy into the science. I have this background of mathematical, physical background, and I couldn't believe some facts that this model presents. But the fortune was that I could leave those things aside for a few years, actually, just embracing the benefits that those models brings, like and knowing that the experiencer is immortal and eternal, and just a guest in this place and can feel this freedom. A guest and a traveler is very curious about things. He's very happy to visit and enjoy places. So just using this perspective bit by bit, making the intellect, the paras intellect, bigger and stronger. Eventually, I could bear those things that the scientist in me couldn't bear at the beginning. But I made peace with that part, and for the last 25 years, I'm enjoying very much this way of using those models into my life. So welcome to everyone, and congratulations, and yeah.
That's
Thank you.
nice. Sometimes we have to say here, first experience and then analyze, because you'll have something to analyze. Because habit is so much, as you say. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And also, it feels in this part of the world, there's going to church on Sunday for some. So you kind of compartmentalize religion, spirituality, something transcendent. But then you go back and work and nothing gets integrated necessarily, at least we might feel that. But to really understand, satisfy the rationality, integrate, bring the reason, and transform the experience. Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. And we'll come back to Prashant, who just needs to come into the world of sound.
I thought we'll see a video of the woodcutter. You have not heard a story so far. We just heard scientists. So, story for the day.
Once upon a time, there was a young man with strong arms and a strong work ethic. Fittingly, he found a job as a woodcutter in a dense forest. On his first day, he managed to cut down an impressive 20 trees. "Not bad, lad," exclaimed his boss. Determined to maintain his track record, the young woodcutter set out to do the same, if not more, on his second day. But after 15 trees, he had to stop. On the third day, the woodcutter rose early, keen to get a head start on the job and bring his total back up to 20. Alas, he managed to cut down even fewer trees than the day before. Each day he found himself chopping down fewer and fewer trees. Although he was working harder and harder, each day he was getting a worse result. Dejected, he went to his boss and said, "I don't know what is happening. The harder I work, the fewer trees I manage to chop down. What am I doing wrong?" The boss asked him, "Do you create time to sharpen the axe?" No, he replied. "I don't want to waste my time with that. Time is precious for me. I want to be out chopping down trees." The boss laughed and said, "Well, if you spend just 5 minutes sharpening the axe, you will need less effort and get more success." Our intellect is our axe. At the present time, many of us are busy working hard with a blunt axe, requiring a lot of effort with less results. With a blunt axe, we cannot easily discriminate or make effective decisions. We get distracted by passions that cloud our aim and purpose. If we were to operate in full clarity with a sharp intellect, then we would exert ourselves less for a bigger reward, as well as having a better orientation as to our purpose. As with the woodcutter, a few minutes created to sharpen the intellect is not a waste of time, but time saved. With clarity and discrimination, we can make clear decisions and attain success.
Excellent. So let us create a few minutes to sharpen the axe. The paras is a nice way to do this. We need to make the paras strong. Paras is the one that has become blunt. Everyone is busy, but even they may be very clever in taking decisions in an ordinary way, but they have completely missed the real dimension. And so, simple reminder that there is a bigger map. To use paras means this. You are seeing the bigger map. And you are seeing the story with complete independence. It is a story. It is not even our story. It is not my story. There are many stories. The story of camel and elephant was not the story of the actors. They are loosely involved in it. That's why we use the word they are observers of the story. So there is no reason to be affected, in any form. It is like creating anxiety or disappointment. That is unnecessary. That's the sign of the patthar, gross intellect. If we use paras, even during those minutes, we understand story is separate. And there is a world beyond the story. The real world is beyond. We use the word alokik. The real world is unearthly. In time, we need to get used to that word, alokik, unearthly. Everything of ours is that invisible alokik dimension. And this world is beyond harm. Story cannot harm us. Story is harmless. That's why it makes us completely positive. The only reason there is sorrow in the world is because of the wrong attitude towards the story. When you see it the right way, there is no reason for sorrow at all. No offense taken, no offense given. Then you discover a real possibility of life, of true freedom, of true contentment, unconditional upon the story, not slave to the situation. You become free from that victim mentality and slave mentality also. Thank you. You will see this whiteboard all the time. Whiteboard is a constant thing for us here. one image that we used on the first day, image of this box. This world, that is where we spend our whole life. So it is good for us to know more about this. Otherwise, we spend our whole life without really understanding what is happening here. So there is this box, great, amazing box. And we said, we are the travelers. Some sketch like this is so useful, and explain it to others. That way you end up explaining to yourselves. Useful for us to know that 100% of sorrows in this world are because of this box. 100% of the sorrows. 100% of ego are connected with this box. 100% of our desperations, desires are connected with this box. 100% of the vices are connected with this box. What remains? If the life is where there is sorrows and vices and desperations and ego, we go to the lowest quality of life that is possible. And all that is happening, a wrong attitude towards that box. That's why the dotted line is shown. You create a wrong attitude towards this, you get all of it. At present, the human race is in that downward spiral. It is not just wrong attitude. Wrong attitude is increasing. We are further in that direction. And science, they may not be intending to create this situation, but just by they denying the alaukic dimension, we miss the main body of science. They present to us the incomplete world, that's fine, that is where they're studying. But when they say nothing else exists, that positioning, it contributes to this downward spiral. It contributes to the Patthar intellect. Not Paras, but Patthar. Stone intellect becomes stronger. And so the quality of life decreases. We got all the gadgets and everything, but inside the quality is increasing. Sorrows are increasing, stress is increasing. The vices are increasing, ego is increasing. And we have the option. And the option is we have to have the right attitude towards this box. What we saw, that bigger map and the Paras perspective, helps us to come in that right attitude. We come above that line. We are involved, very, very much involved. Guest is very much involved. But at the same time, he doesn't cross that line. An actor is very much involved. He knows the camel and elephant and dragon. He is very much involved, but doesn't take sorrow. He knows the story. He knows something beyond his world. That is where we want to be. And each time we practice it, what happens? We come up the spiral. Every minute we are practicing it, we are bringing about deeper shift in our attitude. That is the purification. So it is not just a relaxation. What we saw in the research, it is a relaxation response, relaxation for 4 minutes. Still there are benefits. But here, when we bring in the accurate practice, then there is a deeper transformation also. We are going up the spiral. Purification also is happening. And when you come up the spiral, you are very much involved, but there is no reason for sorrows. There is no reason for stress. You are independent from the story. Many things happen. Story finishes, episodes finish. But that is the story, that is not your story. Your world is separate and totally secure. You become free from vices, free from desperations, free from sorrows, free from ego. That is purification. We saw that when we are in that lower spiral, downward spiral, then we create within ourselves the victim mentality, helplessly. That's why everyone is seeing himself as a victim. Things can break, things change, poor me, that kind of feeling. If not today, tomorrow, things are going to change. We saw in those stories, in an example of the stories, that boy clinging to that toy and seeing that, that toy will be taken away, and poor me, I'm the victim. So also adults, they are having all these supports here in that unpredictable world, and they are hardwired to see themselves as victims. In that state, they are also in the slave mentality. Slave means they are dependent. They got masters. Someone can do something and then they're happy. Someone says something, they're happy. Someone does something different, they're unhappy. Even weather can make them happy, weather can make them unhappy. Such is that state when we have crossed that line. When you are in the victim mentality, victim comes with the beggar. Beggar is, please be nice to me, please praise me, please give me something, and then I will be happy. He's begging from God, begging from other human beings, begging for love, begging for respect. This is not the way, this is not the only option. We have a very different option. We use the word noble, one who is on the other side of the line, one who has gone up the spiral. He feels he is lucky, he is immortal, he is beyond harm, and he's full. That feeling of security creates in him the feeling of being full. And that brings a noble personality, unconditional upon the story. He knows that in the story, not one atom can belong to him. In that story, there may be a part of some kind. It is a story, it is not him. But he feels noble. He lives internally, feels as a noble, and goes through all situations from that richness of the heart. No one can have a higher quality of life than the one who is conscious, the invisible traveler, one who is conscious. No one can have a higher quality of life than this. Why? Because he may have power, position, wealth, cakes, he can have all these things. But inside the mind, he is of the victim, mind is of the beggar, mind is of the slave. These are the lowest denominations in any society. Like in some town, the beggar is the lowest. There are merchants, there are warriors, there are some lawyers, And there are beggars. Beggar is the lowest. Slave is the lowest. Victim is the lowest denomination in any society. Here you bring it right at the mind level. At that level you are in the victim. 24 hours. So this creates the lowest quality that is possible, in spite of all the diamonds and gold all around him. One who is in the conscious state, invisible traveler who is conscious. All are travelers, but they are not conscious. But those who are conscious, he is free from all this victim. He is in that noble mindset. And for him, he knows he's lucky. He got a home. He got immortality. It is an emerged experience for him. He is secure. He knows of his immortality. His world is eternal. And for him, this is a great theater, a great drama. Elephant is nice, and dragon is, and camel is playing that part. And it is not his story. He is observer of the story. Story itself is a gift for him. As it comes, every moment is a gift for him. He enjoys the beginning, he enjoys the end, he knows his world. That mind is constantly positive. Not by program, but truth is positive. He understands truth. He is immensely positive of everyone. And that's why he is also a right person to help others. Why? Because he knows everyone's secret, that they all are good and they all are immortal and their truth is beautiful. He knows this. He is not doing some superficial help to try to change the story, but he knows something higher. And the truth is that universe is positive. Everyone is beautiful. And truth itself is beautiful. So it will be nice to keep some of these sketches, and that is part of the homework. Some quick revision for us. And tomorrow we'll be discussing one subject connected with our identification. And this area, identification, is ruling the world and in our lives also, and everyone you meet, and political world, it is ruled very much by identification. We'll discuss it tomorrow. Maybe there will be less stories tomorrow because it is a detailed subject, big subject. So we'll create time for the discussion and practice.
Yeah. Couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
One maybe quick one and then one longer one. What are the vices that you are speaking of in this case?
Yeah, sure. And then we use the word anger is a vice. Lust is a vice. Creating dependency, emotional dependency, that is a vice. Greed is a vice. And sort of envy, all these are like vices in different form.
And ego for E as well.
Yes.
And how to let go of feeling guilty or shame after doing something wrong?
When we take the subject of identities tomorrow, that will help us understand this subject better.
Yeah, nice. I think of what you were sharing just now. The key is in knowing something higher, or even just stretching the intellect. Because what I can see in myself, we know the happiness from the outside in, the ordinary kind, the dependency kind. And that is kind of beggar happiness, because if things are going well, I feel good. And I'm trying to spend my whole life engineering things so I feel something. But the vice-free happiness is not something perhaps ordinarily thought of or known. So these practices, I like this idea of even using the words, writing them down, and it has a lot of power when we do it ourselves and really feel what is that perspective that hasn't created expectations and knows is secure. And in your own words, I found it really helpful. And also even recording yourself if you do enough writing in your work or something. That's nice. You can reflect on it this way. So I've also shared the link to the 4 steps, if it helps, written version. So yeah, the homework to come back to the pictures, stories, and the 4 steps. Anything you want to share finally, Prashant?
Revision of the various things. It is always good to go through it quickly, just understand and what this dotted line means, and creating an experience of the invisible traveler associated with this story world. Come into this experience. It's a fun, and every time you are experiencing it, you are coming in that positive space. So it is an enjoyable journey. So the homework is have fun.
Yeah, it feels like it should be, since the truth is beautiful, the process to rediscover should also be fun. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to all. We'll look forward to connecting tomorrow. Enjoy your experiments. Enjoy the fun.